This is kind of a new thing. All right. Okay. Can you hear me okay, or is
I
my
can hear
speaker
you
okay?
fantastically, Paul. With
Oh,
Paul
good.
Huenemann, The Big Date is the screenplay, the award-winning screenplay from the Comedy Festival. I actually love this script because
Hi.
it's modern kind of world that we live in, but it's a screwball comedy. So it's a modern screwball comedy.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And these films never die. Like there will always need films like this in terms of
Yeah.
like a romantic comedy. Shenanigans get in the way. There's like obstacles, but we kind of know what's going to happen in the end. But we're enjoying the ride while it lasts, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, we could use a good comedy right now, I think, in the last year or so. So,
But good
yeah.
people too, right? Good people who are falling in love or are in love with each other, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, everybody's kind of nice in this
Yeah,
whole picture. Well, except of course there's the antagonist, the
sure.
Roxie
Yeah.
character, but even she's not that bad. So
Yeah,
yeah, it
that's
was.
yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic film in so many ways, and it showed me that these films still work, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Now we just need some producers to think that.
Well, I think it happens like to a certain extent on like kind of the low budget Netflix movies, I guess to a
Uh-huh.
certain extent. But
Yeah, I'm out in the Midwest here, so what Hallmark is located around here someplace, so it might be kind of a good deal to approach them someplace. I know they have an office in LA, and I think there's one in Kansas City, but or they're maybe that's their cards. I don't know for
well, they
sure.
make a lot of their movies in Vancouver. I know that. So
Yeah, okay. Well, there you go.
so okay, so tell me about the idea for this script. How'd you come up with it?
Actually, I've been thinking about comedies and funny things and stuff, and this one actually kind of came to me in a dream. I'm trying to remember exactly what the genesis of it, but I think I just woke up one day and thought, oh, it could be this. It could be the big date, and they have problems getting there. So boy, I'd love to say it didn't pop out fully fleshed. It just kind of this rough idea that somebody's gonna get married, but there's all kinds of problems, and maybe they should get married, maybe they shouldn't get married. They want to get married, is it just physical or is it a lifetime kind of thing? And the
Yeah.
whole screwball part later on came as I was writing it, kind of like, oh, they could be doing this, and they could be doing that, and this would be a problem here.
Because yeah, it's all these obstacles that get in the way from the true love, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to balance all that. You write it one way and then you go, oh, well, maybe this character should be a little more this way, and then go back and change the dynamics of the whole situation that they're in. I think the scene where they on the roadway where the gang finally shows up and stuff, that I had to rewrite several times trying to figure out which character was doing what and who was, all that kind of interplay, I guess. So it's not so much as it was written as it was rewritten many times, kind of thing, which I guess most plays are, aren't they?
So it says on in the blog interview that you've like written hundreds of scripts, but you haven't completed them all, I guess, right? Like you kind of
Yeah,
started a
yeah.
story.
Yeah, I tried to. Well, just this morning I had another idea, and I try to jot them down real quick while they're still fresh in my mind, and then I've got a file on my computer here where I just have stories, and then there's like a hundred different entries in there, or maybe even more now, and each one is in various states of being done. It's kind of like having a lot of irons in the fire, and one gets
Yeah.
hot, and you pull it out and you work on that for a while, and then you run into a problem, so you let that one sit and work on another one. This morning, I'm one of the it's a TV pilot for their what do I want to say, paranormal investigators.
Okay.
And I woke up this morning thinking, oh, wait a minute, this they could be doing this, and so I'm rewriting one scene, and of course, when you're a writer, you go in to write it, and then immediately you start saying, "Oh, well, this word isn't right, and that word isn't right." He should say it this way, not the other way, and kind of stuff. So you end up hours on it. So
So like what do you think it compelled you to finish this script?
the big date.
Yeah.
Um, well, it was just having fun, actually. When I got into it, um, it was just I just enjoyed the characters and they were fun to watch, and they were kind of getting to the point where they were starting to dictate what they want to do. I don't know if you're a writer or not, but
Mhm.
certain scripts you get the characters and they all seem like friends, and then they start telling you what they're going to do, and that's really fun, I think. It's
So
it's
who is Harry and Sandy? Like they someone that you know, like that they're based on?
um I'm trying to think. Well, I do know a couple lawyer ladies. Um But no, I think they just kind of sprang out on their own, to tell you the truth. The rugby team are all people that I'm familiar with, friends and various people I've met over the while. And of course, I have no idea where Christiana came from, the antagonist in the thing, I guess. Um, just I don't know anybody like that, but you know.
Like, did you
But
are you married?
yes, yes, and so maybe it's a fantasy. I'm not sure.
Well, we all like kind of fantasize about or maybe not, but the kind of like
Yeah.
asking somebody to marry you, like not like kind of like usually it's the male kind of person's job, I guess,
Yeah.
95% of the time, if it's a male female relationship.
Yeah.
And like in this one, and basically it's the male's job to do this. And sometimes there's stress, right? Because you want to make it memorable. There's
Hmm.
that kind of anxiety to like, okay, I'm going to do this, but then it's got to be important. I can't just like wake up in the morning and give them the ring and say, "Hey, let's get hitched." Right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it happens that way. But Harry well, he runs his own business and he's pretty meticulous in a lot of stuff that he does. When he takes her to the French restaurant, he has it all planned out, the whole dinner and the gorgères and the special wine and he's worked with the waiter ahead of time. This is all kind of in the backstory, which probably now I'm thinking I could rewrite. So,
Okay.
so and I think the lady Sandy is more of more impulsive a little bit. She thinks on her feet, lawyer like, and she examines everything and uh from all different angles, but she's really quick-minded, so she ends up she's very suspicious in the whole scene too, but not sure where I was going with that, but
But do you have a memorable asking your partner to marry you story?
no, I don't. I don't. I think we were just sitting around and I brought the ring out and said, here, kind of thing like that. Afraid of being rejected, I suppose.
But we got to admit too, it's also a modern day kind of thing where like everybody wants to show it on their social media, right? That
Yeah,
the big
that's true
proposal, I
too.
guess, right?
Yeah, and if you're going to do that, you want to have the nice picture and the beautiful scenery and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, this was quite a while ago for me. So none of this media existed
Yeah. You
way
think that would
then.
have changed your mindset?
Um, Boy, I'd hate to say, I'd hate to say it's a
Yeah.
whole different world now. So,
No, but I like that. But I like that idea of like I said, like we're using the tropes. Like you had wrote down in the blog interview that the most one of the films that you said seen the most times in your life was Philadelphia Story, which is
mhm.
90 years old, but it still holds up today. It's still got
Yeah,
the, you
yeah.
know,
I having a hard time. You say which favorite movie? Oh, and I go, oh, this one, oh, that one, oh, this one, oh, this one over here, kind of thing. But I just finally settled down on what movie is it? If it's on the TV, I'll stop and watch.
yeah,
And it seems like those old screwball comedies and that quick patter, his was it his Girl Friday was another one.
yeah,
That quick patter and that people stepping on each other's lines and stuff, they'll stop me all the time. And another thing that'll stop me is good adventure film, from Star Wars to Treasure Island, way back when, kind of the
yeah.
1934 version of Treasure Island, not the modern ones.
But in terms of like the like kind of like you're like I said, like you're kind of using this kind of you know what I just realized while we're talking is that do you know like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or Itoli
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah.
they she uses the screwball kind of comedy kind of
Yeah.
pacing style
Yeah.
and shooting
Yeah.
style, I guess, right?
Yeah, there was another British film or British series, I'm trying to think of what it was,
Yeah.
about a young lady in television, and that was very much like what you're seeing in my script, that, back and forth and stuff socially wanting to accomplish something, but all kinds of stuff getting in your way
Yeah.
kind of
Do you know
thing.
what show
Yeah.
that was or
I'm trying to remember now, and I'm terrible with names. I'll think of it probably right after we're done. So
okay,
no,
yeah,
not right
exactly.
away.
So then you kind of like said you work on things like so here and there, and then how many scripts have you do you know how many scripts you completed to date?
Uh, well, I've got five pretty good ones, adventure ones or ones that I like or feel like they're complete, feature films. And then
Yeah.
I've got like two or three pilots for a series on television or video on demand or something like that. So probably out of that 100, there's maybe 10 or 12 that I think would be good to make into a movie.
And what motive like how long have you been writing screenplays for?
Oh, well, I've been doing little dabbling with little screenplays. I do animation for a living.
Okay.
So we did industrial films and commercials and things like that. But all the time on the side, I'm making these little films for myself, that frustrated, didn't want to live in LA kind of thing. And I've always been writing little stories to do animated films. Uh, oh gosh, since the 70s. So I got more serious here in the last 7 years or so. Um, I I'm not sure why. I thought, oh, I like writing, and I started writing even deeper and learning more, and took some courses and online courses and master classes and some other places, talking to people and starting to getting serious about how how to set up a script, how to set up the characters, how to do took a playwriting course, and getting into the craft of the whole thing. Before it was always just, oh, here's a cool story, we could do this, we could do that. But now I'm more into, all the little nitty gritty details, and I'm not carried away by my enthusiasm, but more of a it feels more like somebody who's building furniture or something. You know how the pieces fit together, and it helps support your creativity. So I feel
Yeah.
a lot. I think my scripts have improved a lot here in the last 5, 10 years. So.
But it also like it's almost in a sense where like yeah, it's you're able to work on something for a living and then
Hmm.
kind of go somewhere else and kind of like I've read a lot about that where like it's good for the mind to like get away and
Hmm.
basically just kind of work on something for yourself in a sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Well, there's a whole mindset between doing things for yourself and your creativity and stuff and pleasing the client. Um, um, and I think that holds true as far as like script writing too. You're using your creativity to bring their vision to life. You still get to use your creativity, but when you're writing like the big date all for yourself and you're the one, then you're just making it the way you want. You're crafting it together the way you
Yeah.
want it. It's your painting. You get to paint it the way you want it. Whereas you don't have somebody come, well, not yet, unless somebody buys it and then they'll look over your shoulder and say, well, I really don't like this scene, or I really don't like that scene, or this character would be better. But haven't faced that yet. So maybe I won't. Maybe we'll animate up the big date and let it go at that. So.
So you think it's an animation?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you think that would work? You don't see a lot of animated rom-coms. I mean, Anime has animated rom-coms, but could you convince people here in the North America here to go with the whole animated rom-com?
Well, the thing is though, the perception is that animation is for kids, right?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Here and around the world, it's not. But you think of like, well,
Well, I
like
can
a
argue
hundred.
that it is. I think I can argue that around the world it is because they're just
Oh yeah.
Hollywood films, right? They're
Oh,
just
okay.
kids are just
Well,
watching
that's true.
Hollywood films, right?
But you look at like 101 Dalmatians from way, way back when,
Yeah.
and that's basically kind of a rom-com with dogs thrown in, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of off the top of my head some other ones. I'm sure there must be other ones that have been around where probably early in animation because adults were watching
Was
animation
it more of a
and
family thing, like Snow
exactly
White or
right.
whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly right. Yeah. And so I think it's time to start that up again, right?
Yeah. But at the same
But
time, it's like your script, it's nice dialogue. You want to see the kind of like what a performer bring it to life, see what
hmm
somebody can do with it,
hmm
right?
yeah. And being a comedy, being a comedic actor is different from being a dramatic actor in terms of body language and body
Yeah.
movement and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, in animation, you can really exaggerate that and even drive it a little bit further than you can with, human body only moves. We don't have squash and stretch in our bodies, but
Yeah.
with animation, you could. So, yeah, I think it would work. I mean, I
It's
think it'd be
interesting because
good.
it's because now you're making me think about it because these kind of films where like there's always action, there's always like movement, I
hmm
guess, right? Like
hmm
as you
Yeah.
described. So you always the camera's either going to be moving or the actors are going to be moving around the scenes. And yeah, that's sort of like I guess, yeah, whatever the vision is. But that's your
Yeah.
thing, right? Your animation is what you know, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I do have a tendency to kind of have in my vision, I kind of see
Yeah.
animated characters more so than real people and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it'd be fun. I was talking to somebody the other day and we thought about taking this and I think it was your read that you guys did, which by the way was wonderful. Thank you very much. And it was a good cold read, I think, and it really helps. I'm getting off the track here, but that kind of prompted us into thinking, well, maybe we ought to make this into a stage read kind of stage play, you
Yeah.
know, where the actors are around and they're reading the script, but there's kind of a little bit of action going on between them too, maybe a little reenactment, or maybe there's a little bit of a love triangle on the stage or something like that. But it's still kind of a foggy, nebulous idea, but it might be kind of fun to
Well,
read out loud
that's
like
what
that.
happens when you got a good product. It's like you
Yeah,
can
there you
go to
go.
different venue ventures, right? So
Yeah, I don't know if it'd make a good stage play. It bounces all around with all the different settings and
yeah,
stuff.
well,
But
you would have to minimize the setting, I guess, right? So
yeah, yeah. But as a read, it might work pretty well. So,
well, but
the fast.
I was wanted to do the Zoom reading with you because I thought that this would be great, right? So like
Oh
with
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, you
yeah.
could. Yeah, that would work well. Yeah,
And then you could
and
get some perspective like what they're going to do with what the actors are going to do with your because it's such great roles, right? What they're going to do with your roles and like you always get a different perspective of like get a
hmm
real seasoned actor taking on your script because they would love it because they don't get to do roles like this very often, right? And then
yeah.
especially from beginning to end and it's like okay, what are they going to do with it? Where are they going to take it, right? So where are they going to take the emotion? So
Yeah, 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 and actors are so much fun because I have directed plays in my past, so they're what they bring is always fun. They surprise you and you get this your character and you bring a whole new facet into your character. You go, oh, I didn't. Oh yeah, that is right. That's the way that guy would be. I always pictured the rugby team as kind of a pack of golden retrievers. you know, where
yeah.
they'd all come in and they're all happy and just glad to be there. But, well, at a moment's, they'll get into a little fight and then the next thing they're really happy, and getting along together again, So,
They're
so
rough and sweet at the same
yeah,
time.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it'd be fun to see that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a group of actors putting that together, in rehearsal and tech rehearsals and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That would be
gotcha.
good fun. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
And like so yeah, so okay, but just to get back to your like your way of writing, it's that you're doing a job, you have your job, right? So you're working on a
mhm.
project, but you always want to make sure that you kind of go somewhere else creatively, I guess, right? Like you're not
Yes. Yes. Keep those creative fires burning.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I I think I go back and yeah, and it's always good to have that your little special spot where you can go and be with the characters you want. In I have a little writing area in my house, and that's my little writing area. And I get there and um, and sit down at the desk with the computer and it's a lot easier if you do have that because you get in the mood, you're in your spot, you're in the groove, and the ideas start flowing. In the hustle bustle of work and working with creative people, it's so busy and cluttered and so many different things get thrown at you. I think writing is a much more quiet, thoughtful kind of place. I don't know what it'd be like to work in a like a writer's room or something like that, where you've got three or four writers together and they're all bouncing ideas off of each other. That would be wild. I'd like
Yeah.
to try it sometime though. So, but mostly it's just me there, And then I send the script out to all. I have friends and people. We have a script writers meeting every month, every third Tuesday of every month.
Like in
People here.
person?
Yeah, no, it's Zoom. It's with the Iowa Motion Picture Association. Anybody can come in and join. And we all read our scripts. They get together. There's usually about it's anywhere from 5 to 10 different people with scripts, and then we all read our scripts to each other and is great feedback. It's very much like your script read.
Yeah.
Everybody just gets in there and they just jump in there and they go there, and that's really helpful for your dialogue and stuff like that. And then you go off
You
and
guys like you share the scripts and everybody gets a role to do, or is that how
yeah,
it works?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay.
It's good fun. It's amazing how well they do for being cold reads. And you can tell with your script, like from your reading that you gave me and stuff, what dialogue is working, what dialogue isn't
Yeah,
working,
exactly.
and then over the whole arc of the whole scene, you can kind of feel how the actors get more or less into the character. And you can kind of, if you, it's real rewarding if they start getting into the character and they start acting like the person that's in your head, and that makes you feel good because you're bringing that to in your writing to the actor. One thing I've been focused on lately is the idea that forget all the paragraphs of descriptions and stuff like that. Can you get those descriptions of what the actor's feeling and what the actor's doing from just the dialogue? And depending on how you write it, it's really interesting how much you can convey just in the words you choose and the structure and what they're talking about and how they can feel or how you can kind of tell what they're doing, how they're feeling, and all the subtle nuances. It's real easy to say something, "Oh, I hate you," or something like that, and then the actor's got to handle right away. But if it's just dialogue talking back and forth over a cup of tea, um, it's a little bit more challenging to bend the dialogue that way to help show what's going on. And it makes
Yeah.
for a much more powerful script too, if you reinforce it that way. I mean, duh, it seems real obvious, but getting it in practice is a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're on your like I like that idea. But then okay, so you do the reading, like you do the writing, it's almost like you kind of like it's almost like therapy for you or kind of creative inspiration.
Hmm.
What motivated you? Like we're talking now, your script has won rewards. Obviously, it's like it's doing well on the festival circuit. What kind of motivated you to submit then to finally get it out there like in this regard?
Oh, I didn't submit scripts for the longest while,
Yeah,
because they were kind of they're my
yeah,
personal, a lot of
that's what I
artists,
mean.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then finally what launched it is I started with the Iowa Scriptwriters Association, and once a month we're meeting and people were reading the scripts and people were saying, and just not only people were going, "Hey, this isn't too bad, this is a pretty good story," and
yeah,
I get a lot of compliments. Of course, they're very nice to begin with, we don't shred each other's scripts or individuals or anything. So they're very nice to begin with, but I was getting the positive feedback like that and also enjoying the idea. Maybe it's a little bit of being afraid to submit because you're afraid people won't like you or
Yeah.
Something like that, or they won't like the script, and and it'll shatter your dream of being of your bringing this story to life or something. But I had good positive feedback and stuff, and I thought, well, okay, I'll start submitting things, and they started doing well.
Yeah.
Really in the last 5 years or so was when I started submitting stuff that seemed to be good enough to get out there and show to other people. And as it turns out, it was, I started getting, there's one sea terrorist got 3 or 4 first place wins now.
Yeah, I believe
And
it.
yeah, so that very gratifying, Wish I'd done it when I was 30 years old, but
Yeah. But maybe you, I don't know, maybe it's all about timing. Maybe you weren't ready
yeah.
for it. Yeah.
Well, oh, most definitely, most definitely. But to new writers and people coming out, you know, I would highly recommend getting into a group of writers and
Yeah.
getting your work out there. And like the feedback, like your contest gave, the reads are great. If you can find a local or nearly local place that people will look over your script or even read 10 pages and give you feedback, it's an incredibly powerful way to learn and and develop your style and abilities. Yeah, get out there. Don't be afraid. Get out. That's how you learn. When
Yeah.
somebody said something that your failures aren't, they're not failures. They're not awful. It's just the way you're learning, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, On that note, thank you very much for your kind words and your candor. It's fantastic. I love your kind of concept for writing, and it's really great. It's something that when you're reading about something, and then I'm just being selfish here, talking to you for a second.
Yeah. Go have it. Go for it.
When you're reading about something, and it's like, oh, that's an interesting idea. What someone's like, folk because I work a lot, obviously, and you're like, oh, and they're telling you always go and do something creative that has nothing to
Hmm.
do with the project you're working on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the afternoon, you're reading something in the morning, in the afternoon, that the person you're talking to you, and you're doing what I just read.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just funny how
Yeah.
that life works that way.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
So
like
yeah,
cosmic. There's all kinds of
yeah,
cosmic connections that
yeah.
you come across, and you're going, wait a second.
That's what freaked me out in the interview. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you're doing what I just read about. So it's just
Yeah.
funny
There you
that,
go.
yeah. So it must be valuable information. So
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. It's nothing but wisdom coming out here.
exactly. Well, thanks for giving me that time to share that to you. And
Oh, yeah.
let's talk again when you make your next winning script.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Like I said, this one's great. This is a great script. So I don't
Okay.
say that all the time. So
Yeah. Well, say it to everybody you meet. Yeah. And then maybe I'll get a copy of our interview and we'll, put it in the pitch deck
yeah. All right, man.
thing.
Talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Take